Hello and welcome back to my channel, Book Besties. If I'm a new face to you here on the internet, my name is Lauren, and today I will be reviewing Elena Armas's latest release, The Fiance Dilemma. And something with Matthew just made it seem like he's too good to be real, and maybe that was some of the appeal to his character. For me, it was. Before we dive in, I want to quickly say thank you to Atria Publishing and Elena Armas for allowing me to be an early reader. So now what you're waiting for, let's just get into the book review. The Fiance Dilemma follows the story of Josie and Matthew. And Josie is in a bit of a predicament and finds herself quickly needing a fake fiance to impress her newfound family. And Matthew steps in. And what begins as this fake fiance ruse quickly turns into something much more complicated. The book is filled with humor, romance, and a touch of drama, as both of these characters navigate their personal dilemmas and their feelings for each other that are quickly developing. Now into my favorite part, the actual review. I loved the character development in this book. It was so unique, and you also really got a feel for who the characters were in the beginning and saw them grow over time through their connection together. Josie, who starts out a bit frantic in the beginning of the book, and to me it felt like she was always trying to compensate for something. I don't know what exactly. She evolves into a confident woman who is sure of herself and her decisions by the end of the book. Matthew's growth was also very notable. He begins the story by hiding truths from his family to maintain an image of perfection, since he is the oldest of his 3 siblings. But by the end of the book, he eventually opens up about losing his job and his genuine relationship with Josie. This honesty brings a refreshing depth to his character. And I did have some things about this MMC. He felt too perfect. He was the ultimate perfect book boyfriend. And what I like in a lot of my book boyfriends is that it feels as if you could meet them in real life, that they could be a real human being. And something with Matthew just made it seem like he's too good to be real. And maybe that was some of the appeal to his character. For me, it was just a little disappointing. I also want to note that this was the first Elena Armas book that I have read. I have her other one, The American Roommate Experiment, but I've never read it. It's just sitting on my Kindle. So this was my first encounter with her writing and her books, and I am curious to read more of her books in the future to see if her writing style in The Fiance Dilemma matches up, or if it is evolving to some degree, or if this was an entirely different take. Armas's writing style was engaged and filled with lively dialogue that kept me hooked. And while some of the elements felt cliche, the book was exactly what I was hoping it would be. It felt like a typical rom-com movie in book form. And so that means it's a little bit extreme, exaggerated, over the top. And by the end, we all get a happily ever after that we are craving. Like I said, some of the elements were a bit cliche. So they live in a small town in the mountains of North Carolina. So that would be on the western side of the state. I live in North Carolina, so I was curious to see how some of this would play in. And it was a little, it almost felt too cliche. There was elements of, oh, we all know each other in this small town, which is totally likely, but it was a little bit too perfect. But if you don't look at it too deeply and you just take it as a rom-com movie in book form, I think it's completely fine. But there was none of that local flair that you would hope to see, like, I don't know, just anything that is unique to the state of North Carolina. Could have been mentioned that she lived in the Blue Ridge Mountains, perhaps, which I've seen in other rom-com books that are set in North Carolina. Could have talked talked about some of the local food or local dialect, that type of stuff, but none of it was mentioned, and it felt like it was just a random place that she had plopped on a map, which once again, if you don't look too deep, it's fine, but since I live here and I love the mountains, I love the beach too, that part was a little bit like, oh, okay. You know, it was just a little bit disappointing for me with that being the cliche. With Armas's writing style, the banter especially kept me hooked, and once I got about 20-25% into the book, I was going. Some of the prominent themes in the Fiance Dilemma were self-assurance and self-growth. And so part of the story is that Josie has 4 failed engagements that she backed out of, or one of them where he backed out. Anything. She's been engaged a lot. And she is dealing with that embarrassment, and I think that's what she was trying to compensate for with her small town being so close-knit, and she's like the mayor of it. I could never figure that part out. I don't think she was ever elected to be the mayor of her town. It was implied that she was. I was really curious because we didn't get to see her doing any official mayoral duties. But that's what I felt like Josie was trying to compensate for, having a history of having 4 fiancés in the past, and this one with Matthew cannot fail, but the whole thing is set up between her and Matthew where by the wedding day they will end it. So she will ultimately have a 5th failed engagement on, what is that called? On her resume. So the story also deals with the topic of forgiving your younger self, which I think is really important, especially in this stage of life that I'm currently in, and a lot of you guys are also in your early 20s, early 30s, really at any stage of life. I think we can learn to forgive our younger selves for mistakes that we would try not to make now. But like I said, the story really emphasizes that forgiveness towards younger you and growing from that version of yourself with what you learned during that time. It's a heartfelt message that resonates well and adds depth to this lighthearted romance book. So overall, I really did enjoy reading The Fiance Dilemma by Elena Armas. It was quick and fun and had plenty of laugh out loud moments that really had me laughing out loud. And while I don't think I would pick it up to read it again, I am curious to read more of Elena Armas's books, specifically to see if her style and voice that were portrayed in The Fiance Dilemma come through in her other books. So if you are in the mood for a feel-good rom-com, please go check out The Fiance Dilemma. This is the perfect book for somebody who loves the fake dating trope, the marriage of convenience trope, I will say, to some degree, small town romances, and just likes a lot of humor in their romance books. Like I said, it felt like an early 2000s movie to some degree. And wrapping up, I want to say one last thank you to Atria Publishing and Elena Armas for allowing me to be an early reader of The Fiance Dilemma. It is now available for you wherever books are sold. And all of the opinions expressed in this review are my own. And that is all I have for you today, book besties. Thank you so much for joining me today for this adorable rom-com book review. I hope you pick it up. Let me know if you've read it or added it to your TBR. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. And make sure if you enjoyed this video, you consider giving it a like, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I post a new video every Tuesday and Friday for you to enjoy. That's all I have for you today, book besties. Happy reading, and I will see you next time.